Finally, after 6 weeks of the US government's longest ever shutdown, it looks set to come to an end after Democrats caved in the Senate. Joining us now is Centre of the American Experiment President John Hinderaker. John, this deal could have been done well over a month ago. Several Democrats now agreeing to reopen the government without extending healthcare subsidies. And this has been humiliating for Chuck Schumer, who's had a meltdown over this in the Senate. Take a look.
Premiums will spike by thousands of dollars a month. Millions will lose insurance. Democrats have sounded the alarm. We have demanded for months to meet with the Republican leadership. But Republican leaders refuse to even discuss the issue, let alone negotiate it. We've asked them to meet in the summer and throughout the shutdown. To this day, Republicans still say no. We asked President Trump to step in and meet with us to deliver lower health care for Americans, and instead, Donald Trump has taken the American people hostage, from cutting off food aid to hungry families and vets and seniors and kids, to manufacturing flight cancellations, to cutting off home heating aid, while he builds a billion-dollar ballroom with gold-plated toilets. Therefore, I must vote no. This health care crisis is so severe.
John, I want to get your thoughts on the Democrats here. Have they just been playing politics this whole time?
Well, they have been, Gabriella. What's so funny about that, Chuck Schumer there was play acting. He's the minority leader. He negotiated this agreement, and then he gets up and he denounces it and he votes against it after he has lined up 8 Senate Democrats who are willing to cast votes in favor of it so that they can finally break the Democrats' filibuster. That whole thing on Schumer's part was play acting because he is concerned about a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in 2028. But you're right, Gabriella, the whole thing was about politics. The Democrats in the end got nothing, but what they did achieve was that they got their base fired up. And the shutdown did succeed in accomplishing that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again prior to the midterm elections next year.
Well, we are seeing some Democrats and progressives just furious about the moves to reopen the government. Here's one Democrat that went on MSNBC to say he's perplexed after Democrats voted to reopen the government.
Why now would Democrats in the Senate decide to lay down their arms, potentially end this shutdown, when the terms that are being offered by Republicans don't seem to have changed?
I can't explain it because, to be frank, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. I am completely perplexed by today's developments, or really the developments of the last few hours.
And let's look at the commentary from the women on The View calling for Chuck Schumer to go.
Shame on the Democrats for even believing that the Republicans will, even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying, we do want the opposition. The working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go. He needs to be replaced.
Yeah, she's not happy. Seeing plenty of people, plenty of lefties really losing it, John.
Well, of course, Schumer did keep his caucus together. He was involved in negotiating this deal, undoubtedly took the lead and negotiated the deal, and they found 8 Democrats willing to vote yes to end the filibuster so that the government can reopen. It was never viable for the Democrats to keep the government shut down forever. You can't do that. At some point, they had to come crawling back, and that's what happened last night.
Let's talk about the BBC, which is in big trouble. The BBC's Director General Tim Davie and CEO Deborah Turness have quit after producing essentially fake news by misleading viewers by editing Donald Trump's January 6th speech to make it look like he was encouraging people to riot at the Capitol in 2021. I mean, you look at what went to air in the original speech, it was just appalling, it was doctored. Now, Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social, the top people in the BBC, including Tim Davie, the boss, are all quitting/fired because they were caught doctoring my very good, perfect speech of January 6th. These are very dishonest people, I should say, who tried to step on the scales of a presidential election. On top of everything else, they are from a foreign country, one that many consider our #1 ally. He's not the only one being outraged by this. Plenty of people are suggesting that this should be the end of the BBC. I don't agree with that, but British taxpayers, they should not be paying for fake news. Former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss wrote on X, "I'm glad the US President and the rest of the world are seeing the BBC for what it is. Its failure to tell the truth on everything from transgender ideology to economics to Gaza has done huge damage to politics and government in this country. This should be the end of nationalised broadcasting." Now, Donald Trump has warned the BBC it must retract, it must apologise, or face a $1 billion lawsuit. He's certainly not afraid to pursue lawsuits. John, what do you make of what's happened here?
Well, I don't understand why in Great Britain they have government-financed news. I mean, that seems like an inherently terrible idea. And everybody has known for many years about the left-wing bias of the BBC. We see it over and over again. We certainly saw it here in the way they doctored the speech that President Trump gave on January 6, 2021. So I, for one, would love to see the British government simply stop supporting the BBC. If people want to support the BBC themselves in whatever fashion, through advertising or subscriptions or whatever, that's fine. But I think the BBC has forfeited any entitlement to be supported by the British government because of its obvious biases.
Yeah, it's interesting. Looking at ratings, GB News has overtaken the BBC as Britain's most watched news channel, which suggests that a lot of people are switching off. But earlier this year, you'd probably remember this BBC presenter made a clarification on air that then went viral online. Let's take a look.
London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine has released research which says that nearly 600 heat-related deaths are expected in the UK. Malcolm Mystery, who is involved in the research, says that the aged, pregnant people, women, and those with pre-existing health conditions need to take precautions.
Now, this went viral. Plenty of people applauding her for the correction. But, John, apparently it's offensive to say pregnant women. The BBC announced that she broke rules because she, quote, expressed a controversial view about trans people. I mean, what a joke.
Well, Gabriella, here's the thing. The BBC's practice of saying pregnant people instead of women, that expresses their opinion. So
Correct.
They're angry at her because she supposedly expressed an opinion on air. No, they're the ones expressing the pro-trans opinion, just like they constantly express opinions against President Trump, against Israel, and so forth. This is just another classic instance.
Yeah, it really is. Now, let's talk about Donald Trump. He's vowed to give most Americans a $2,000 payment as a tariff dividend. Here is the president.
We're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000.
John, it does appear as though Donald Trump is losing support over the economy. Plenty of people are certainly still struggling, and tariffs are controversial. But what do you make of this announcement?
Well, I'm not holding my breath waiting for a $2,000 check for a lot of reasons. One, I don't know that the numbers add up. Trump talks about trillions of dollars. He's including there all of the investment that other countries are promising to make in the United States. But of course, none of that has actually happened yet. The tariffs might bring in as much as $500 billion a year, but the case that was argued in the Supreme Court just a few days ago could put most of those tariffs out of business. People think it's likely that the Supreme Court may rule that most of Trump's tariffs are not, in fact, authorized by the legislation that Congress had passed. So I'm not so sure anybody is going to be seeing those $2,000 checks anytime soon.
Okay. Well, Nancy Pelosi has announced that she'll be stepping down at the next election. Her term ends in January 2027. And John, she's leaving Congress a very wealthy woman. The New York Post has reported that her and her husband made at least $130 million in stock profits over the course of her 37 years in Congress, which shows a staggering return of almost 17,000%, which is extraordinary, especially compared to the 2,300% for the Dow Jones over those years. What are your thoughts on Nancy Pelosi and how she's leaving Congress?
Well, what was striking to me about that is that she made so much of her money on option trading. Option trading, of course, is highly leveraged, creates a tremendous opportunity either to make or to lose a lot of money. And if you were engaging in insider trading, that would be the way to do it. Trade in options to maximize your returns. And of course, the federal government does many things that impact industries, that impact corporations. And as the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi was in a terrific position to know what the government was likely to do in the future, particularly because she was one of the people making those decisions. So if she decided to engage in option trading based on actions that she knew the federal government was likely to take, that is just unbelievably corrupt. I don't know whether she did that or not, but for many years, there has been a lot of suspicion over Nancy Pelosi's very lucky history as a stock trader.
Incredibly lucky indeed. Finally, before I let you go, Syria's president has met with US President Donald Trump at the White House for unprecedented talks after Washington removed him from a terrorism blacklist. Now, he previously had a $10 million bounty on his head, and now he's being treated as an ally after he's announced reforms. Now, he spoke with Fox News this morning.
In the last 60 years, Syria was isolated from the rest of the world, and there was a cutoff between the United States and Syria. And this is the first time a Syrian president visits the White House since the establishment of Syria in the 40s of the last century. And so after the fall of the former regime, Syria has entered into a new era, and this will build on a new strategy with the United States, especially with the United States.
John, there are plenty of concerns about this meeting due to his past connections with al-Qaeda. What do you make of this? I suppose Trump is giving him a chance, seeing as he's announced reforms. What do you make of the meeting?
Well, international relations can make for strange bedfellows. I think the Trump administration is being realistic in recognizing the fact that this guy and his colleagues are now running the nation of Syria, which is an important country, and they have to deal with them. The other thing going on here, of course, is that Syria was Iran's most important ally. The Trump administration obviously would like to reorient Syria to ally itself with the West and not with Iran. So the fact that he used to be a terrorist obviously is an unpleasant reality, but it's one that the administration has to deal with.
John Hinderaker, Center of the American Experiment President, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour. We really appreciate it.
Great to be with you.